Hello YouTube, welcome back to the secret underground bunker location. I'm your host, Cav Trooper Munoz, and it is time for some adult entertainment. Brown chicka brown cow. Brown chicka brown cow. Oh yeah. Brown chicka brown cow. Alright, that's the extent of my humor. So somebody asked me about my Beretta 92S and what kind of coating I put on it. And the fact of the matter is that I choose Rust-Oleum camouflage when I'm putting a finish on my gun. And the reason is because, believe it or not, this finish can be durable. Now this gun I recently painted, for lack of a better term, and you can see that when carrying, it does rub off at the highlights. I did have a little oops there with some puddling. I'm not the world's best painter, but I'm not trying to hide anything. This is the gun covered in Rust-Oleum paint. And the thing I wanted to say about Rust-Oleum is that, or Krylon, or whatever paint you choose, is that it's all about the application. Even more with the more expensive coatings on your gun. Because really, what are the coatings for? Well, the coatings are to prevent rust and to cover bare metal parts. So it's up to the person who owns the gun how they want it to look. In this case, I wanted a specific look for this gun, and I think for using Rust-Oleum paint, it turned out great.
Not any better. Still to the left.
Okay, YouTube, this is the first shots with the Beretta 92S after the spring pack install, the Wilson Combat Spring. You can see that I'm right on, just over to the right. I had a multitude of failure to fires, failure to functions, problems with the slide, and that was, I'll go into that on the bench check. That was more me learning to shoot the new springs. They're much lighter, and I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more shots on the new spring pack. The firearm's just getting broken in. We're going to talk about the Beretta 92S after I installed the Wilson Combat Spring Pack and put it through its paces. I did have several malfunctions with this gun, and there were a couple of issues that I wanted to point out. The first was I just took this to the range after finishing it, and the first two magazines, almost every other round failed, and I think that's due to me breaking in the gun again after finishing it. So that was a concern. The other issue was that with the Wilson Combat Spring Pack, I had to adjust the way I was shooting, and it had more to do with my lack of power in holding on to this pistol. With the Wilson Combat Spring Pack, this thing is so smooth. It is like butter. Oh, the difference is just phenomenal with the way that the slide goes back and the amount of recoil. It's just like non-existent. I have to tell you, if you have a Beretta 92S and you like a smooth firing firearm, get yourself that Wilson Combat Spring Pack. You will not be disappointed. The difference is night and day. As I said though, I had to improve my grip, because if I limp wristed it, I was having failure to feeds. So after the first couple magazines that that had solved itself. There were a couple other things that I had not done to this gun yet that I will do. First being that I needed to, as you can see, I have some overspray in the magazine well, and that did not go well for the magazine fit and the ejection. So what I'll do is I'll just take some steel wool and clean that up. The other thing is that this magazine well is not chamfered. On the Wilson Combat M9s or Beretta 92s that you see that they do, their Brigadier models, they have this chamfered for easy magazine insertion, and I think that's going to make a big difference. I am going to chamfer this myself. I probably won't do as good a job as Wilson, but I would recommend that if you're not afraid of doing a little bit of grinding on this magazine well, that you should chamfer it, and your magazines will load much smoother. As I said, I'll get that overspray out of there so that my magazines will release the way they were supposed to. And that's mostly on me, because I didn't tape this off well enough when I was doing the finish on the gun. So lesson learned, and I'll fix that up. And the other lesson for me was that if you install the Wilson Combat Spring Pack, then make sure you're using a good pistol fundamentals with your stance and with your handling of the firearm. I was, like I said, I was not holding it well, and I paid the price in a couple of those failure to feeds. So there's also some polishing I'm going to do on the feed ramp and on the slide. I did have a magazine that was having an issue feeding, so I must say that the spring pack did change some things on the gun, and I will have to adjust, but the smoothness of the firearm after that is just, it's like a totally different gun, and I really like that. I mean, my goodness. For future, the next thing that will be done to this is that, like as I said, I will chamfer the magazine well for easier insertion. I may also get their Wilson trigger, although this, the Beretta stock trigger is good. I didn't find too much fault with that. And then also I want to put the Wilson Combat sights on there. Just because they're easier to see, and obviously, looking down here, as you're looking down the sights, that's not a good sight picture for a professional firearm. You want to have this firearm functioning 100%, and this is just not a good sight picture. So I will remove that back sight and put the Wilson combat sight on there, and then I will find some manner to highlight this front blade. And the difficult part of that is there's not enough material there for me to drill it out and put in the filament, which I would really like to do, but there's just not enough material there, and I'm not keen to. I was thinking about welding some more material on there, filling it in, and then putting the filament in there, but I'm not sure I'm going to do that. That could ruin the slide. The slide could break. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could happen, and I'm just not ready for that. The other thing I was thinking about doing is that I may in fact put a rail here, and I have a small rail that I may cut and then fit and then tap out the frame for this rail so that I can put a light on there. I'm comfortable with that. I think that'll go well. It's just a matter of, do I want to use this polymer rail or do I want to use an aluminum rail? And I'm leaning more towards going and getting a short aluminum rail rather than this polymer. And I've done drilling and tapping before, so it will be delicate based on where it is and the frame, the material of the frame. But I'm comfortable doing that. So the 92S is coming along. It's still got a ways to go, and I look forward to giving you my next update. This is Cav Trooper. I'm out.